This is the most effective treatment that's ever been shown in treating the leading cause of death and disability, which is high blood pressure. It also reduces insulin resistance. It can enhance cognitive capacities, and you also see it affecting things like depression and anxiety. It's called fasting.
Dr. Goldhamer asserts that fasting is the most effective intervention ever demonstrated for treating high blood pressure, the leading cause of death and disability worldwide. Beyond blood pressure management, fasting lowers insulin resistance, a critical factor in metabolic health and type 2 diabetes management. It also positively influences cognitive function, as it increases neuroprotective factors in the brain, such as BDNF, potentially lowering risks of dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Additionally, fasting appears to impact mental health by alleviating symptoms of depression and anxiety, possibly through gut-brain axis modulation and neurotransmitter balance. Unlike medication-centric approaches, fasting addresses underlying causes, notably visceral fat and inflammation, rather than merely masking symptoms.
Normally, your brain burns glucose.
Which is what I get if I have a piece of bread or a bar of chocolate.
Or if you break down protein, which can also break down into glucose, which is what happens after 24 hours of fasting. You've depleted your glycogen stores, the sugar stores in your muscles. And so then the body, in order to get the glucose it needs, has to either convert to burning fat or break down muscle in order to form glucose.
Dr. Goldhamer explains the physiological switch the body makes during fasting. Initially, the brain runs predominantly on glucose derived from dietary carbohydrates and stored glycogen in muscles and liver. After about 24 hours of fasting, glycogen stores are depleted. The body must then source energy either by converting fat into ketones or by breaking down lean muscle tissue to create glucose through gluconeogenesis. To preserve muscle mass and maximize fat loss, prolonged therapeutic fasting requires rest to minimize energy demands from physical activity. The brain, evolutionarily adapted with high glucose needs, shifts its metabolic fuel to ketones, which are more sustainable for longer fasting periods, highlighting human resilience and adaptation to food scarcity.
Fasting introduces not just a chance to lose weight, it also mobilizes visceral fat, which is the fat around the belly and the organs, which is giving off inflammatory products that's causing heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and many people are maintaining higher visceral fat than what they should be.
One of the unique advantages of fasting, according to Dr. Goldhamer, is its preferential mobilization of visceral fat, the metabolically active fat surrounding organs that secretes pro-inflammatory substances. This inflammation is linked to the pathogenesis of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and autoimmune diseases. Visceral fat is often difficult to reduce with diet and exercise alone due to its biological priority for energy storage. Fasting accelerates its breakdown, thereby rapidly decreasing systemic inflammation and risk factors tied to chronic diseases. The decrease in visceral fat during fasting leads to improvements in blood pressure, insulin sensitivity, and general metabolic health, often more effectively than other interventions.
It's the complete abstinence of all substances in an environment of complete rest.
So what does that mean? That means
that you're actually resting while you're fasting in order to get therapeutic fasting to be most effective. And the reason is, if you're very active when you're fasting, your body has to produce more glucose in order to carry on the extramuscular and brain activity.
Dr. Goldhamer clarifies that therapeutic fasting entails complete abstinence from all caloric intake, consisting solely of water consumption combined with rest. Physical activity during extended water fasts increases glucose demand, forcing the body to catabolize lean tissue to maintain blood sugar, which is counterproductive. Rest minimizes this effect, conserving muscle mass and focusing energy mobilization on fat stores, particularly visceral fat. Safety is paramount. Patients must be screened for suitability, closely monitored for electrolyte imbalances and dehydration, and undergo supervised refeeding to avoid dangerous complications like refeeding syndrome. Monitoring is especially critical during long water fasts, 5 to 40 days, and such fasts should always be conducted under medical supervision.
The higher your beta-hydroxybutyric acid is, the more BDNF is produced. BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, is neurochemical that's thought to be protective in the brain from oxidative damage. So that can result in things like Alzheimer's disease and dementia.
Fasting elevates ketone bodies such as beta-hydroxybutyrate, which stimulate the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. BDNF enhances neuronal plasticity, cognitive function, and protects against oxidative damage linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. Parallel biochemical adaptations seen in exercise also occur during fasting, explaining boosts in mental clarity and mood stability often reported by fasters. Fasting resets dopamine signaling, aids in taste resensitization, and can combat the dopamine-driven overeating triggered by processed foods. Psychologically, mastering fasting can instill greater willpower, diminish anxiety, and improve the relationship with food by breaking habitual cravings.
They get a day of fresh fruit and vegetable juices for every week of fasting, more or less. So they're going to get about 600 calories of fresh fruit and vegetable juices if they had a 3-week fast for about 3 days.
What's the thinking here?
Refeeding following prolonged fasting is critical to avoid adverse outcomes such as refeeding syndrome and edema. Dr. Goldhamer recommends gradually reintroducing calories, starting with fresh fruit and vegetable juices, approximately 1 day of juice for each week of fasting, typically providing around 600 calories daily during this phase. The juices are low in fiber, easily absorbed, and help restore glucose and electrolytes gently. Subsequently, raw fruits and vegetables are introduced, followed by steamed and starchy vegetables, progressively restoring normal digestive function. The refeeding phase often lasts about half the length of the fast and is essential for restoring lean body mass, rehydration, gut microbiota balance, and maintaining metabolic benefits achieved during the fast.
In a fasting state, there's a big drop-off in total organisms, and then when you refeed, depending on how you refeed, you can actually regrow those organisms and repopulate that.
I'm right in thinking if you do a water fast, you're going to wipe out a lot of the bacteria in your gut, including the bad ones, but also some good ones.
Fasting profoundly affects the gut microbiome by substantially reducing bacterial populations, including harmful dysbiotic species. This microbial reset creates an opportunity for reestablishing a healthier and more diverse gut flora upon refeeding. The quality and timing of refeeding are pivotal in shaping the new microbiome, with a whole plant food SOS-free diet, free from sugar, oil, and salt, being optimal for regenerative microbial repopulation. An improved gut microbiome can contribute to better immune function, reduce systemic inflammation, and improvements in gut-related conditions such as IBS, ulcerative colitis, and Crohn's disease, as well as growing evidence connecting gut health to mental well-being.
So juice fasting isn't technically fasting because fasting is the complete abstinence of all substances. It's a modified form of eating. So it's a diet that's high in sugar, very low in fiber, virtually no fiber on these juices.
Dr. Goldhamer differentiates true therapeutic fasting, water only, from juice fasting and other modified dietary regimes. Juice fasting, while helpful as a transitional step for some, delivers calories predominantly from sugars, lacks fiber, and sustains feeding physiology. Hence, it is not fasting in the strict sense. Juice fasting may be appropriate for individuals unable to attempt water fasting and can help reduce reliance on highly processed foods by offering a palatable but low-complexity calorie source. However, water-only fasting offers superior detoxification, fat mobilization, and systemic healing effects due to complete caloric abstinence, including activation of autophagy and deeper metabolic resets.
We've had dozens and dozens of patients with polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it's a condition that responds consistently to fasting. It also responds to diet and lifestyle change, but understand many of the people that have made the diet changes but are not been successful are then referred to us for fasting.
Fasting has shown consistent benefits for women with hormonal imbalances, such as polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS. PCOS is often linked to excess estradiol and disrupted metabolic and gut-liver functions. Fasting improves the breakdown of estradiol to estriol through enhanced gut microbiome and liver function, thereby normalizing hormone levels and menstrual cycles over subsequent cycles after fasting. While prolonged or extreme weight loss can disrupt menstrual function, therapeutic fasting in the clinic is carefully monitored to avoid these risks. Patients often experience improvements in fertility, menstrual regularity, and symptoms related to fibrocystic breast disease and dysmenorrhea, making fasting an important adjunct for women facing hormone-related health issues.
Salt, oil, and sugar are not food. They're hyperconcentrated components derived from food that are put back into food. And we put them into food to make food taste better. And what tasting better actually means is it results in more stimulation of dopamine in your brain.
Dr. Goldhamer highlights that modern processed foods are often engineered by adding concentrated salt, oil, and sugar, SOS, to override natural satiety signals through enhanced dopamine stimulation in the brain. This pleasure trap leads to overeating, weight gain, and chronic disease. The body's evolutionary programming to seek calorie-dense foods becomes maladaptive in the modern environment of unlimited availability. Fasting helps break this cycle by resetting dopamine and taste perception, making whole natural foods taste better and processed foods less desirable. Over time, fasting can recalibrate the palate and reduce dependency on hyperpalatable dopamine-stimulating foods, promoting healthier eating behaviors.
After we published that paper, we went on and we've published a couple dozen papers now on the use of diet and fasting in the literature, and we've written a book. It's called Can Fasting Save Your Life, which summarizes our work and other people's work on this use of fasting to help the body do what it really does best, and which is heal itself if you get out of the way.
Dr. Goldhamer's extensive clinical work and publications demonstrate that fasting combined with subsequent sustained diet and lifestyle changes can restore health and often eliminate the need for medication in chronic diseases. The central concept is that fasting helps the body heal itself by removing dietary excesses and inflammation that underlie disease processes. However, long-term benefits depend on patients adopting and maintaining a whole food, plant-based SOS-free diet and healthy habits post-fasting. His book, Can Fasting Save Your Life, encapsulates this body of evidence and provides a guide for safe fasting protocols. Success stories, such as sustained blood pressure normalization and cancer remission, underscore fasting's transformative potential when paired with lasting lifestyle commitment.